The Galactic Council's Grand Chamber hadn't been this silent in centuries. Dr. Juniper Blackwood stood before the assembled representatives of 37 spacefaring civilizations, her holographic presentation casting an eerie blue glow across scaled, tentacled, and crystalline faces alike. She wasn't supposed to be here. A junior xenoanthropologist from a primitive species had no business addressing the council. But what she discovered couldn't be ignored. Distinguished members of the council, she began, her voice steady despite the gravity of her findings. We've identified why 17 advanced civilizations have fallen in the past millennium. The pattern was there all along, we simply refused to see it. The hologram shifted to show a star map, with red markers indicating the locations of collapsed civilizations. The pattern formed an unmistakable arrow, pointing directly toward Earth. High Counselor Tlax, their crystalline form refracting light in agitation, leaned forward. Explain yourself, Dr. Blackwood. Are you suggesting these collapses are connected to humanity? Not directly, Juniper replied, bringing up new data streams. But our existence, our very nature, triggered a cascade of civilization-wide panic once they discovered what we represent. The chamber erupted in murmurs as she displayed footage from Earth's savannas. Human persistence hunters, following prey for days until exhaustion claimed their targets. Ancient cave paintings depicting coordinated hunting parties. Modern marathon runners, pushing through what other species would consider physical impossibility. We are not the strongest species, Juniper continued, nor the fastest, nor the most technologically advanced. But we are the only known sentient species that evolved as persistence predators. We never learned to give up. The hologram shifted again, showing human space exploration efforts. The failed launches, the disasters, the deaths, and the relentless push forward despite them all. Other species develop space flight through careful, methodical progress. We strapped ourselves to controlled explosions and kept trying until it worked. Representative Nix of the Mersian Collective, their tentacles writhing in distress, interrupted. But surely this is ancient history? Your species has evolved beyond such primitive methods. Juniper smiled, but there was no warmth in it. That's what the Arcturus Alliance thought too. Before they discovered our colony ships could function for decades without maintenance. Before they saw our exploration teams survive conditions that would break their strongest environmental suits. Before they realized we had turned their trade routes into hunting grounds for pirates and criminals. She brought up the final piece of evidence, footage from a recent diplomatic incident. A human maintenance crew, trapped in a depressurized station section, manually sealing hull breaches while suffering from radiation exposure. They didn't just survive, they completed their mission. The civilizations that collapsed didn't fall because we attacked them, Juniper explained, her voice growing softer. They fell because they realized what we represented. In a galaxy of carefully evolved sentient species, humanity is an anomaly. We are what happens when intelligence develops not from safety and abundance, but from the need to chase, to hunt, to endure. The chamber had grown so quiet that Juniper could hear the subtle humming of environmental systems. Those civilizations saw our potential and chose cultural suicide rather than face a future where humanity's influence would spread. They saw us as a virus, not because we're destructive, but because we're unstoppable. High Counselor Tlax's crystalline surface had darkened considerably. What would you have us do with this information, Dr. Blackwood? Juniper straightened her back, looking directly at the assembled representatives. Learn from their mistake. Those civilizations fell because they couldn't accept our existence. But we don't want to destroy or dominate, we want to explore, to understand, to grow. Yes, we're predators. But we're predators who learn to paint, to compose music, to dream of stars. She gestured to the star map once more. We can be your greatest nightmare or your strongest allies. The choice isn't ours, it's yours. Will you run from us until exhaustion claims you, like our ancestors' prey? Or will you recognize that humanity's greatest prey has always been its own limitations? The council chamber remained silent as her words hung in the air. Dr. Blackwood gathered her materials, knowing she had either just saved the galaxy from another wave of civilizational collapse or confirmed their worst fears. As she walked toward the chamber's exit, she heard High Counselor Tlax's crystalline voice, perhaps we have been approaching this wrong. Tell us more about these human limitations you hunt. Juniper smiled. The real first contact was just beginning. Commander Raven Steele stood at the helm of the UES Pathfinder, her dark eyes fixed on the swirling purple nebula ahead. The Void Serpent pirates had claimed this region as their sanctuary for decades, destroying any pursuit vessels foolish enough to follow them in. The nebula's radiation disrupted most tracking systems, and its magnetic fields played havoc with navigation. Status report, she called out, never taking her eyes off the view screen. Lieutenant Jasper Wong's fingers danced across his console. The Void Serpent's energy signature is degrading, Commander, but I'm tracking their plasma exhaust particulates. They're heading deeper into the Maelstrom sector. Just as expected, Raven muttered. She had studied the pirates' patterns for months, learning their habits, understanding their psychology. While other species relied on advanced technology to track their quarry, humans had never forgotten the old ways. Engineering, how are our retrofits holding up? She asked. Chief Engineer Prisha Patel's voice crackled through the comm. The radiation shielding is at 82%, Commander. Not pretty, but it'll hold. Those salvaged Drachnid hull plates might look like garbage, but they're doing their job. The Pathfinder wasn't the newest or most advanced ship in the United Earth Fleet. Instead, it had been specially modified for long-term pursuit operations, sacrificing speed and firepower for endurance and resilience. Just like humanity's ancient hunters, they would follow their prey until it couldn't run anymore. They're changing course, Jasper reported. Heading for the Thorian Drift. The gravitational distortions there will tear apart anything larger than a shuttle. Raven allowed herself a small smile. No, they're not. They want us to think that's where they're going. Plot their actual trajectory based on fuel consumption and radiation wake. The bridge crew had learned to trust their commander's instincts. Jasper input the calculations, and a new course appeared, leading to an ancient spaceship graveyard. All hands, prepare for debris field navigation, Raven announced. They think they can lose us in the wreckage. Show them why that's a mistake. The Pathfinder slipped between massive hulks of long-dead vessels, its modified sensors picking up traces of the pirates' passage. Where other pursuit vessels would have needed to stop and recalibrate, Raven's crew worked in shifts, maintaining constant vigilance. Commander, Communications Officer Lucia Ortiz called out, we're receiving a transmission from the Galactic Council. They're ordering us to abandon pursuit. Apparently, we're violating 3 different space treaties by being here. Send them our standard response, Raven replied, knowing Lucia would transmit the carefully worded message explaining how Earth's persistence predator clause allowed them to continue pursuit of recognized threats. Hour after hour, the hunt continued. The Void Serpents tried every trick, releasing sensor-jamming probes, hiding in radiation storms, even attempting to double back past the Pathfinder. But Raven's crew had trained for this, their ship systems modified to track the subtlest signs of their quarry's passage. They're starting to make mistakes, Jasper reported on the 3rd day of pursuit. Their course corrections are becoming erratic. I'm detecting power fluctuations in their engine signature. Raven nodded. She had seen this pattern before, the mounting pressure of being constantly pursued affecting the pirates' decision-making. It was the same stress that had caused ancient prey animals to make fatal errors when followed by human hunters. Engineering, status, she asked. We can keep this up for another week if needed, Prisha replied confidently. The backup systems are holding steady, and we're regenerating power faster than we're using it. The breaking point came near the edge of known space. The pirate ship, its crew exhausted from constant evasive maneuvers, miscalculated a jump and emerged dangerously close to a brown dwarf's gravitational field. "They're caught in the gravity well," Jasper announced, trying to keep the excitement from his voice. "Their engines don't have enough power to break free." "Take us in," Raven ordered. "Tactical, prepare rescue protocols along with arrest procedures." As the Pathfinder moved to capture its prey, Raven received a private message from the Void Serpent's leader. The alien's serpentine features showed a mix of fear and bewilderment. "Why?" the pirate captain asked. "Why didn't you give up? We've escaped every other pursuit vessel in the galaxy." Raven's response was calm, almost gentle. "Because giving up was never an option. Humanity learned long ago that persistence is the deadliest weapon of all. You could run, but you couldn't outrun our nature." Later, as the pirates were being processed for transport to a council detention facility, Raven filed her report. The Pathfinder's successful hunt had sent a clear message across the galaxy: space was no longer a place where criminals could simply disappear. Humanity had turned the void between stars into its new hunting ground, and their prey was learning an ancient truth: you can't escape a predator that never stops pursuing. Dr. Zara Hassan wiped condensation from her protective goggles as she faced the assembled Xenobiology conference. Behind her, holographic displays showed comparative anatomical scans of various spacefaring species. The conference hall on Europa Station thrummed with nervous energy as representatives from across the galaxy awaited her presentation. "For decades, we've approached human physiology from the wrong angle," she began, bringing up a three-dimensional model of human musculature. "We've been trying to justify our place among advanced species by highlighting our intelligence, our technology. But our true advantage lies in what others consider our primitive traits." The hologram shifted to show footage from the recent Ganymede mining disaster. Human rescue workers operating in conditions that had killed environmental suits, their bodies adapting to extreme pressure changes and toxic atmospheres. "This isn't about superior technology," Zara continued, highlighting cellular structures. "It's about evolutionary adaptations we've carried since our earliest days. Take our endurance, for instance." She displayed medical data from the marathon colonies on Mars. Other species developed spaceflight before learning to survive their own planets fully. Humanity. We conquered every environment on Earth before reaching space. Our bodies learned to adapt to everything from Arctic cold to desert heat. Professor Nvax of the Celestial Academy raised a tendril. "But surely your species has lost these advantages through technological dependence?" Zara smiled, bringing up new data. "On the contrary. Look at the cellular regeneration rates in spaceborne humans. Our bodies aren't just maintaining those ancient adaptations, they're enhancing them. Every generation born in space is showing increased radiation resistance, better bone density retention, more efficient oxygen processing." The conference hall erupted in murmurs as she displayed the next set of results. Human tissue samples showing unprecedented adaptation to various planetary conditions, faster healing rates in low gravity, and enhanced neural plasticity in space. "We're not just surviving in space," Zara explained, her voice carrying a note of wonder. "We're evolving to thrive there, just as our ancestors evolved to thrive in every environment on Earth. And we're doing it faster than any predictive model suggested possible." She brought up comparative data from other species' space adaptation rates. "Most species require extensive genetic modification to survive long-term space exposure. We just need time to adapt naturally. It's not a technological solution, it's coded into our very DNA." Dr. Rylan from the Centauri Medical Institute stood up. "Are you suggesting humans are somehow superior to other species?" "Not superior," Zara corrected, "just different. We evolved as pursuit predators who had to adapt to constant environmental changes while tracking prey. Our bodies never learned to specialize, they learned to generalize, to adapt, to endure." She displayed the final set of data, brain scans showing human neural adaptation to extended space travel. "We're seeing changes in cognitive processing, enhanced pattern recognition, improved spatial awareness. Our brains are rewiring themselves for space just as they once rewired themselves for tool use and abstract thinking. The implications weren't lost on the assembled scientists. Humanity wasn't just another spacefaring species, they were the first species to treat space itself as just another environment to adapt to. But here's what truly sets us apart, Zara concluded, showing footage of human children born on various space stations and colonies. We pass these adaptations to our children. Each new generation is better suited to space than the last. We're not just exploring space, we're evolving to become part of it. The conference hall had grown unnaturally quiet. The data was undeniable, but its implications were staggering. Humanity wasn't just another species reaching for the stars, they were changing themselves to belong there. I understand your concern, Zara said softly, noting the worried expressions among her alien colleagues. But remember, these same adaptations that make us formidable also drive us to protect, to heal, to build. We became apex predators on Earth not just through hunting, but through cooperation, through caring for our injured, through teaching our young. As the conference descended into intense discussion, Zara packed up her research materials. She had delivered her message: humanity's greatest strength wasn't their technology or their intelligence, it was their ability to adapt, to endure, and to pass those traits on to future generations. The galaxy would have to come to terms with a species that treated the harsh void of space as just another environment to conquer. Fleet Admiral Victor Zhao watched the holographic battle display with calculating eyes as the Centauri Armada approached Earth's outer defense perimeter. After centuries of observing humanity from afar, the Centauri had decided that containing Earth's expansion was worth the risk of war. They had brought their entire fleet, over 2,000 warships armed with technology centuries ahead of humanity's best efforts. Let them think they have the advantage, Victor murmured, his weathered fingers tracing patterns through the holographic stars. The bridge of the UES Nightshade hummed with quiet tension. The ship's stealth systems, reverse-engineered from studying deep-sea predators, kept them hidden among the debris field of an ancient battle. They weren't the most advanced ships in space, but they had something better: crews who understood the art of the hunt. Centauri fleet is moving exactly as predicted, reported Lieutenant Commander Raji Patel, his eyes never leaving the tactical display. Their formation indicates they expect a direct confrontation. Victor allowed himself a small smile. Of course they do. They think they're dealing with primitive warriors who will rush to defend their territory. Show me the migration patterns again. The hologram shifted, displaying the movement of asteroid fields and space debris throughout the sector. Where other species saw random chaos, humanity had learned to see patterns, just as their ancestors had tracked animal migrations across vast savannas. Task Force Artemis, begin Phase 1, Victor ordered quietly. Across 50 light-years of space, human ships that had been hiding for months began to move. They didn't attack the Centauri fleet directly, instead, they triggered carefully placed gravitational charges, subtly altering the paths of asteroids and debris fields. They're responding to the changed debris patterns, Raji reported. Adjusting their formation exactly as calculated. They can't help it, Victor explained to his bridge crew. Their tactical doctrine is based on perfect formation and overwhelming force. They physically can't comprehend the idea of using chaos as a weapon. Hour by hour, the trap took shape. The Centauri fleet, responding to what they saw as natural hazards, gradually shifted into increasingly vulnerable positions. They never realized they were being herded, just as ancient prey never understood how hunters use terrain to their advantage. Sir, Communications Officer Thea Nash interrupted, we're receiving signals from the Galactic Council. They're demanding we meet the Centauri in open battle according to the Articles of Civilized Warfare. Victor's response was measured: inform them that humanity never signed those articles. We're not bound by conventions designed for species that evolved as herd animals. The Centauri detected the first actual attack 12 hours later, a small group of human ships that seemed to be desperately fleeing. The massive alien fleet turned to pursue, their superior technology making the outcome seem inevitable. "They're chasing our ships," Raji noted with a hint of satisfaction. "They never stop to ask why prey would deliberately show itself to a predator." "Execute Phase 2, Victor commanded. The fleeing human ships dove into what appeared to be a random debris field. The Centauri fleet followed, only to find themselves surrounded by hundreds of powered-down human vessels that had been waiting in ambush. More importantly, they were now trapped in a region where their advanced sensors were useless, forced to fight at the close ranges where humanity's more primitive but robust technology excelled. "They're trying to retreat," Raji reported as the first shots were fired. "Their formations are breaking down." Victor nodded solemnly. "They're experiencing something their species has never evolved to handle, the panic of being prey." "Push them toward the Newton sector." The Centauri fleet, trying to retreat from what they thought was the main human ambush, fled directly into the true trap. Thousands of microsatellites, nearly invisible against the background radiation, activated simultaneously. The coordinated electromagnetic pulses didn't destroy the advanced alien ships, they just disrupted their most sophisticated systems, reducing them to fighting with their most basic technology. "Now they fight on our terms," Victor said quietly. "No advanced AI, no automated targeting, no tactical computers. Just instinct against instinct." The battle that followed wasn't the elegant dance of energy weapons and shield harmonics that most advanced civilizations considered proper warfare. It was close, brutal, and primitive, exactly the kind of fighting humanity had spent millennia perfecting. Hours later, as the remnants of the Centauri fleet retreated in disarray, Victor recorded his after-action report. The galaxy would soon learn what the Centauri had discovered the hard way: humanity didn't play by the civilized rules of warfare because they had never forgotten the older rules, the rules of the hunt. "Let them call us primitives," he concluded his report. "Our primitive nature is precisely what makes us dangerous. We don't just think like soldiers or commanders, we think like predators. And in the end, that makes all the difference." Ambassador Dominic Santos walked through the gardens of the Galactic Council's Peace Station, the artificial gravity slightly lighter than Earth standard. Around him, representatives from hundreds of species discussed the recent changes in galactic politics. A year after the Centauri conflict, the power dynamics of known space had shifted dramatically. "You must understand our concern, Ambassador," said Delegate Venn of the Arcturus Confederation, their bioluminescent patterns shifting with anxiety. "Your species has proven itself far more adaptable than we anticipated." Dominic paused before a display showing Earth's rapidly expanding colonial sphere. "We understand the concern. But I think there's something everyone has misunderstood about humanity." He gestured to a group of human children playing with alien youngsters in a nearby recreation area. The human children had unconsciously adjusted their movements to accommodate their playmates' different physiologies and gravitational preferences. "Look at them," Dominic said softly. "We're predators, yes. But we're predators who learn to care, to protect, to nurture. Our greatest prey has always been our own limitations." The station's observation deck filled with representatives as word spread of the informal gathering. Dominic found himself at the center of an impromptu diplomatic session. "But your expansion," protested Representative Kylix of the Silicon Mines, their crystalline form refracting light nervously. "Your adaptation rate. Your military capabilities. How can we be certain you won't turn these advantages against us?" Dominic activated a holographic display, showing footage from across human space. Research teams working alongside alien scientists. Human medical techniques being adapted to help other species. Joint colonial projects where human endurance complemented alien technological expertise. "We didn't evolve just to hunt," he explained. "We evolved to survive, and we learned early that survival is easier together. Yes, we can chase prey until it drops from exhaustion. But we also learn to domesticate animals, to form symbiotic relationships, to turn potential prey into partners." He brought up new images, human rescue teams saving alien crews from spatial anomalies, human colonists adapting their settlements to accommodate other species, human children learning alien languages at rates that astounded xenolinguists. Our predatory nature isn't just about hunting, Dominic continued. It's about persistence in everything we do. When we decide to help, we don't give up. When we choose to protect, we don't back down. When we commit to peace, we pursue it with the same relentlessness that our ancestors used to chase prey. High Counselor Tlax, who had been quietly observing, finally spoke. Yet your military power grows. Your colonies expand. Your influence spreads. Because space is the ultimate challenge, Dominic replied. And humanity has never met a challenge we didn't try to overcome. But look at how we're doing it, not through conquest, but through cooperation. We're not trying to dominate space, we're trying to understand it, to adapt to it, to make it better for everyone. He displayed one final image, a new type of space station being built through joint human-alien cooperation. Its design combined human durability with alien efficiency, creating something neither civilization could have achieved alone. We're predators, Dominic acknowledged, but we're predators who learn to paint, to compose music, to dream of stars. We're predators who decided that the greatest hunt of all was the pursuit of knowledge, of understanding, of peace. The assembled representatives fell silent, considering his words. The galaxy was changing, adapting to humanity's presence just as humanity adapted to its challenges. But perhaps that was exactly what the galaxy needed, a species that combined predatory persistence with the wisdom to use that drive for more than just hunting. Our children will inherit the stars, Dominic concluded, watching the mixed group of youngsters play. All of our children, from every species. And they won't see each other as predator and prey, but as fellow explorers in the greatest adventure of all. As the diplomatic session dispersed, Dominic remained on the observation deck, watching Earth rise over the station's horizon. Humanity had emerged from its cradle to find a galaxy full of sophisticated civilizations, but they had brought something unique, the relentless spirit of a predator species that had learned to turn its hunting instincts toward nobler pursuits. The stars were no longer just distant lights. They were humanity's new savanna, their new hunting ground. But what they hunted now was knowledge, understanding, and a